All right, welcome back to the AeroBear podcast, episode 6. I'm Isaac Lopez, and I'm joined by my brother Bear Lopez in Belgium, and by our father Patrick Lopez. Gents, go ahead and say hi.
Hello there.
Howdy.
Well, there's a lot to get to. At today's episode, we're going to be covering Bear's tour of Ireland, stage race that happened over 6 days. So we're going to take a more in-depth look at that, and then we're also going to talk about the Tour de France, where they're on a rest day right now. As far as the recording of this, we're recording on Monday, July 21st, and then we'll start talking about Bear's schedule in Belgium because he's now done racing in Ireland, and he's now racing over in Belgium. But before we get to all that, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, because Bear's podcast is now sponsored, which is still really cool to say. And you probably, all three of us can relate. We need better coffee. Bear's putting on hundreds of miles a week in Ireland. Dad is inspired, so he's going out and riding 50, 60 milers out here, and he's not getting any younger. And, being on paternity leave, there's just not a lot of sleep. So everyone needs better coffee. Do you even know when your coffee was roasted? If your beans are old enough to file taxes, then we have a problem. Cleve Coffee is the Inland Northwest's newest coffee roaster, bringing you fresh roasted coffee twice a week. No mystery blends, just single origin, organic beans that taste like dark chocolate doing backflips through citrus sunshine. Sip once and your grocery store grounds will feel like instant regret. Sip, smile, repeat. Cleve Coffee. Use code AeroBear. That's AeroBear at checkout to get 20% off your entire order. Be sure to go check them out. And we've got
made the trip to Ireland.
That's true. Yeah. It made it all the way and then almost got lost in Ireland.
Almost got lost. That's right.
Yeah. Abby was taking some great footage of the race with Cleve Coffee featured prominently in the foreground, and then drove off in chase of Bear and just completely forgot on the roadside. But she did go back and get it, which is the important takeaway from all this. So, let's start there. Bear, tell us about the Tour of Ireland. I'm really eager to hear. Really cool following you on Strava.
Yeah, it was a really, really cool experience, but hands down the biggest and probably most competitive race I've ever done. It was a really fun time, really riding with a team for the first time, and we had really good success. I think it was arguably Team California's best year at the Tour of California or Tour of Ireland. Um, and yeah, I was really happy to be a part of that and help wherever I could to help guys succeed in that. And yeah, it was a really fun time.
That's really cool. And you had about a week and a half before the race, right? To train with
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. Yeah, about a week and a half, and that week we had like this spin out ride after everyone got in off their flights, still dealing with jet lag and whatnot, and then we did recons for each day, depending on just whichever stage was the closer drive and what would work logistically for the day. And then after that, we did some caravan training and then just an opener ride, just to kind of do some sprints before the race starts.
That's cool. How did your legs feel to start in the first couple stages?
Um, they felt strong, but it was just always a matter of how efficient you could be. I think the first stage was, I want to say like 37, maybe 40 miles at most. And so it was a pretty fast stage, one like categorized climb, and I think it all came down to like a bunch sprint from a group of like 70 or 80 guys. And so that wasn't that bad, but I learned that while I was able to kind of get away with tail gunning and that, the roads that we were on for stage one really were not uh, reflective of what we would see in the next few stages. They got really narrow after that and just single lane up down left right kind of roads. So being at the back burns you up very quickly. So there are guys that I can push similar watts to, even among the team that I was riding with, but they were doing a lot better than me because they were just always better positioned and far forward. So that was the big learning curve that I had to work on at Ireland, was just learning to position and move up in a pack of 100 plus juniors on roads that were like 5 across on.
And so when it comes to positioning yourself in the peloton more effectively on narrow roads, how was having a team helping you with that? Were you
Um,
also helping other guys to position themselves better later on in the race as you got more comfortable?
Um, in terms of like actual positioning, like in a full, like when the pack was all together, I wasn't gonna really be able to help anyone. But like it is nice just to be able to have our guys, and you'll see a wheel and you'll fight a little bit hard to follow your teammate's wheel, and you have a little bit more chance of someone like letting you through if they see you on like your teammate's wheel. Not that much of a difference, but it can help sometimes. But really, it's just always like the mentality always has to be moving up, or else you're going to get moved back. And then just constantly being aware, because they do a really good job with the full road closures. But it's a rolling closure, and sometimes you have to be aware that if a car is coming down against us on a one-way road or a one-lane road, um, it's it's just going to stop and pull over to the side. But the road will narrow from 6 or 7 riders across to 4 or 5, and so you have to move across, move back, and it could happen anywhere, even around blind corners. You just have to always be ready for it.
So they didn't have the roads completely blocked off,
Um, I mean, as well as they could. I mean, since it's a rolling closure, they can't close the whole course the whole time.
right?
So as every now and then we'll hear a repeated horn on our right, and that'll be a couple motos going up the right hand side to go try to get to the next closure before we do, and so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was honestly really impressive how smoothly it all went. I think yeah, it was really well handled. I think it was really impressive seeing how well they managed, like us going through these tight roads into towns. And so yeah, it was really cool in that aspect, and kind of allowed us just to focus on the race and just the hectic environment created just by the riders themselves.
Bear, when you were riding and trying to move up that you were just talking about, was this the typical washing machine effect where everybody's going up the outside to move up, or were you moving up through the middle of the pack?
um the outside is often where guys move up. That's where I was often moving up the most. But if you're skilled enough to be able to move up like through the middle of the pack, it really helps you in the long run, just because it's a lot easier and you can do it more often if you know how to kind of slide between riders in the pack. Um,
Did you
Most of
feel
the
you were
time,
picking up that, or did you
say
grow
that
in
again.
that?
I definitely got better at moving up, and it's all just a matter of like confidence, and there has to be a certain amount of you your only responsibility is your wheel, and everyone needs to look after their own wheel. You can't worry too much about the people right behind you. Obviously, don't do anything super dangerous, but there comes a point where if you've got your handlebars ahead of someone right next to you, it's your wheel to take. And if they're not going to defend the wheel, you need to take it in order to move up. And so that's what I was starting to figure out, is just you have to be a lot more aggressive about moving wheel to wheel, and not allowing a space to be open right next to you where someone's going to be able to slide up right next to you and then take your wheel.
So, Bear, I've got several questions for you because I think there's some really cool highlights from your race experience. But when it comes to that first, you were training for riding caravan behind the peloton, right? Like just using that as a way if there's a flat tire or you got in an accident or you got dropped, you wanted to be able to surf your way through the cars. So were you able to do that during the race at all, and kind of explain to us what that was like?
Yeah, I had one day where I did it several times. And that was, I think, stage 4. No, stage 3, which was probably the most hectic day for me. Just ton of stuff going wrong. I have the full breakdown on my Strava and Instagram, I think. Um, but essentially, I got caught up in a crash on one of the downhills, managed to hop back in the group, and blew up as a result of coming back too quickly before because I got up within like 25 seconds of going down. And in that matter of time, the caravan actually never came past. So we had to basically get back to the peloton of our own accord, me and like 3 or 4 other riders. And as a result of that, we got back on right as we hit the next big categorized climb. I dropped back and then I hopped on the wheel of the car and uh, managed to make it back in. And the big thing there is you almost always want to be on the drops just because you need to be able to have full braking power and full turn power, like at a moment's notice. And you're always looking up through the back window of the car because you need to be able to see both what's in front of the car, but also what the driver is motioning or when it's the right time to move up and slingshot the way to the next car. So efficiency is really important in the caravan. I had a pretty decent knack for it throughout. I think at one point on stage 3, I hit like, what was it, 45 miles an hour on the bumper of a car, just on some like narrow, twisty
Wow.
roads in Ireland. And it's really just you have to have trust in your driver, and then you just have to know the correct moment of when he's gonna bump over a little bit to the left, and then you zoom up the right side and hop on the bumper of the next car, and just kind of time it like that. So that was probably the, I guess you could say, the highlight of stage 3. It was a pretty awful day for me, honestly. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
sorry to
managed
bring it up.
to jump back a couple times.
That's cool. Well, let's talk about
Second crash on that day, right? You had 2 crashes as well as
Yeah,
a couple
2
other.
crashes, bottle in my face. Yeah, it was a bad day.
yeah, let's talk about your best day. I think that was really cool. You kind of summarized it in a text to me, but then you sent a longer email to Dad, and it just sounded like a very gritty stage and gritty performance for you, and that had to be super satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to stage 5, just it was kind of the last day I knew that I would have a chance to really do something. Just based on the profile, and the last day is more of a rolling circuit race, so that was going to be hard to compete on that. And stage 4 had been really rough, which was really disappointing for me because I felt great early, and I was really hoping to make it to that final steep climb and try to do something for the squad there. But I think inevitably it was the toll from stage 3 that kind of knocked me out of being able to compete on stage 4. So stage 5, I think we did. Can't remember. It was like in our 70-mile stage. We had one big climb at like I would say maybe like 30 miles in or something like that, and the race just split to pieces up that. I was able to hang on with a couple guys from Team Cali and Team Boost in one group. I think on like the third or fourth group of like 6 or 7 over the top. I mean, our group was like 6 or 7. I'm sure there was bigger groups ahead. But it really just broke apart. I was holding a bit over threshold and just staying constant pace. I yo-yoed on and off the back of the group a little bit, but made over top, so I was really happy with that. And once we got over, groups started to come back together, and we realized there was a split between us and our GC guy and the yellow jersey group up ahead, as well as
Oh,
some
wow. Okay.
Hot Tubes guys. Actually, I think Hot Tubes was uh, in the yellow at that point. Yeah, they were. So basically the big GC guys that we were hoping to contend with had gone up the road. So I did a bit of work there to try to pull us back. I couldn't do much. It was pretty flat. And it came back together right before that final circuit that you can see on my Strava map. We are on a straight line for a while, and then we hit this little like clover leaf circuit, and then come back in for the finish. And once we hit there, I had been like on the back of the group since we caught up, and I started to feel really good there. And I'm not sure how it happened, but I started moving up on the circuit, and the front of the group had completely splintered. There was the yellow jersey group off the front, as well as like another breakaway of like 4 or 5 guys off the front of that. And I don't think any of the Team Boost or Team Cali guys made it into it. And so
Wow.
I
Wow.
think we rolled. I don't know what the gap was. I don't know if it was 20, 25 seconds. But it was significant, and it was kind of a stalemate of no one wanted to really push it across the gap. And I think we had one Team Cali guy that was like in no man's land trying to bridge and just couldn't quite make it. So I was like, screw it, let's give it a go and see what I have left in the leg. So I rolled up next to our GC guy, Reed, and just said, hop on my wheel, I'm gonna jump. And he came with me, and I just started sprinting up this climb to try to pull guys back. And I think I brought Reed and I want to say 3 Team Cali guys as
Nice.
well as a couple other guys. And I probably closed like 2/3 of the gap, and then pulled off and kind of flicked the elbow and just said go through. And then I managed to hop on the back of that group right as they were connecting up. And so that was a really big move at a good moment.
Major
And Team
moment.
Cali
Yeah.
guys, yeah, when I was talking with them after the stage, they were saying that they were like, "Oh, you might have saved our GC right there." I was like, I don't know if it was going to split apart that bad, but it was a big moment where everyone was kind of at stalemate over, especially with how tough the last few kilometers had been. No one wanted to really commit to that effort. So it worked out for me because I was
That's good,
totally
dude.
willing just to go all out there, and I didn't care if I popped after I made it across.
Right.
So once we made it across, I did some pulls at the front because they were saying that we should try to bring the breakaway back. And I was like, screw it, my legs are going to die here soon anyway. So I pulled a little bit at the front, and then just kind of sat back. And then I think on the next categorized climb, my legs were just done. I couldn't go above threshold to stay with them. So I dropped back after that, and I think ended up hopping into like a group head of like 30 guys that was off the back. Um, and we just rolled in together after that.
Yeah.
So that was nice. It was nice to be that late in the stage and having been that far up in the chaos that when you drop back, it's not you and like a couple other guys. It's actually a
Right.
sizable group behind
Yeah.
you, which made it a lot more enjoyable to ride to the finish, knowing that I'd done a good job and I wasn't riding in solo. But yeah, it was a really fun stage. It was hot for by Ireland standards. It was really nice the amount of volunteers and team cars that were handing out bottles to drop riders off the back. I think there was one of my teammates that said they went through like 6 to 7 bottles, just like not even from our team car, just
Wow.
bottles from like anyone over the course of this like 2.5 hour stage. Um, so yeah, it was a really fun stage. I think at one point the gruppetto there had to like swerve around an RV that like blocked like 80% of the road because we were no longer with the road closure. And so it was really funny listening to a bunch of Irish guys get really mad and like at an RV in the middle of the road. So yeah, it was a really fun stage, and glad I could do whatever I could there. I think we got a top 10 for the finish on that
Nice.
stage, and we held our, I think he was 12th overall in GC at that point.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the nice thing about that, Bear, was that's stage 5, right? And this is the longest stage race you've ever been a part of. So you're like over 400 kilometers in. This is the hardest you've worked for 5 days in a row, and your legs felt the best they had felt the whole time, where you could contribute to the team, right? And that's one of the cool things about cycling is even though you've fallen out of any kind of contention at the top, you found a place where you could contribute to the team and burn yourself up, sacrifice yourself in order to help your team get to the success they need. And those are the kind of experiences you're looking for while you're over there.
Yep.
That's really cool. Dad, do you have any questions for Bear before we jump to the next segment?
Well, I mean, he's gone through a lot of the details right there. So how do you describe a bunch of angry Irishmen without becoming socially offensive?
Unfortunately, the first thing I thought there would have been socially offensive. It is comedic. There was banging of fists upon the front of that RV as we came past, and slamming on the side of the RV as they rolled past. So it was pretty funny. And yeah, I won't say more.
Okay. Well, hey, maybe just to bridge us a little bit to I know where Isaac wants to go next. You were talking about working your way up through the trail vehicles and having to look through the windshield, right? Well, one of the things that just happened in the Tour is one of those vehicles in the Tour de France is one of those vehicles just took out a civilian. And one of the reasons they took out a civilian is because they can't stop. They can't just slam on the brakes because they're always worried about a guy doing what you were doing, which is going 45 kilometers an hour behind their car. And if they slam on the brakes, that guy's coming through the back windshield, right? Did you have any weird experiences like that?
Actually, there was, I think on stage 4, the Castle Hill stage. Got really lucky on that stage. I think I got dropped off over the top of the burn, and really pretty stage. Got to enjoy the views more than I would have liked. And as I'm rolling along with this other guy that just got dropped, I'm thinking, okay, it's a long way to go. I guess we just settle in for the kind of steady state ride. And a team car comes zooming past us with 3 riders on the wheel. The last team car in the caravan, whatever team it was that stage. And he slows down and lets us hop on the back. So we end up trailing that team car all the way into the finish, and he gives us a free tug basically. But going through one town, we had a bystander step out in front of the team car as we're zooming through this town, and we all scatter around the right and left and zoom through this intersection. I don't know what they were doing. I swear I could have seen them ask the team car for directions, and I was like, what is happening right now? We're in some random coastal town in Ireland, and I don't know, some lady steps out from the team car to ask it for directions as we're zooming through at 40k an hour. So yeah, some crazy stuff like that happens. I will say though about that Tour de France incident, I'm pretty sure it was on a climb that happened. And so I would venture to say that there's not going to be any riders trying to draft the car at high speed on that.
That's a fair point. Fair point.
All right, let's jump to talk about the Tour. But before we do that, be sure to follow Bear on Strava at Bear Lopez. He's also on YouTube. Obviously, you're here watching this podcast on YouTube, but he's also on Instagram as AeroBear.07, right?
Yep.
And then if you want to support him financially, there's a Give Send Go link in the description. All right, gents, let's talk Tour. We're at the rest day. Is the Tour over right now? Is Tadej Pogačar just got this completely on lock?
He's definitely looking strong. I don't want to say he's got it on lock because anything can happen in the last week. But it's going to be really hard to unseat him. I don't see Visma hasn't looked strong enough to really throw like something Adam Jorgensen has been fading, which makes sense because he was attacking more than anyone else in the first week. So it's going to be hard for them to really find the ammunition to like hit him with any 1-2s. And UAE's looking really strong. So I would love to see Vingegaard take back some time on like the Mount Ventoux stage, but I just don't know if it'll happen.
Yeah, I think it's Pogge's right now to lose. Clearly, right? He's got such an advantage here that if he rides a smart race, there's really no reason anybody should catch him unless something went tragically wrong. The bigger question is going to be, well, obviously third place is up for grabs, and there's a number of guys with shots at the podium. And if Visma continues to be this aggressive, could Jonas actually put second at risk because they're trying so hard to do something? Could he pop somewhere along the way? And somebody, he's still got 3 minutes over third place, but that might be the more interesting story if that gap were to even close, right? If somebody were to get within a minute of him, I think it would really get interesting.
Yeah, well, I think to that point, I'm personally a Jonas homer. I really, really want him to win this year's tour, but the way that Pogge's riding on, he's on another level. But I do think Jonas has shown weakness in this year's tour that he hasn't shown in years previous, taking out last year as an exception because he had that horrific crash. And he mentioned in his his off-day presser today that he just acknowledged he had 2 bad days. And I don't think Vingegaard has had bad days in the tours that he's lost, right? Or if he's been healthy. So accepting last year's tour. Yeah. So so it's possible if he cracks, like I've been very impressed with Lipovitz, the way that he's been climbing. He wasn't that far back from Jonas when Tadej put 2 minutes into Vingegaard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true though that like even on Jonas's really bad day up Hodicom, you still put 20 seconds into Lipovitz, which Lipovitz closed it a little bit on that one, but it's still a time gain. Yeah, I think it's a really tough situation for Jonas. I think we watched the TT with a bunch of the guys here, and it was just crazy to think that someone like Jonas can catch the best time trialist in the world on the line in a 24-minute time trial. You can be that strong and still lose by 30 seconds, which is just crazy. So he's clearly a level above the rest, but he's just not quite there at Pogge's level.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing is how much is he willing to risk to try to get closer to Tadej, and could that put him in jeopardy because he pushes himself beyond where he's... There's no doubt if he played defensive, I don't think any of those guys behind him can catch him. But the only reason I think it is possible is because is Visma going to continue to go all out and try to do something incredible? And that will actually, could put second place at risk.
Yeah, I actually really want to see Jonas take it one-on-one with Pogge and be more on the offensive and not sit back. And he started doing that in the most recent stages. But I want to see him starting to attack. And he keeps talking about how the third week of the tour is his best week. That's where he shows that his strengths are. It's the high mountains in the third week of the tour. So I would hope to see way more aggression from him personally, because Visma's tactics almost get canceled out because UAE is just a better team and they're going to keep going, meeting every blow with another punch. So yeah, I think the coolest thing will be watching for Jonas on, maybe tomorrow's stage with Ventoux going right at Pogge, because no one can follow either of their attacks.
Yeah.
I think we'll learn a lot about that third through sixth space tomorrow as well, right? If Lipowitz can solidify that third spot, that'll be one thing that'll be interesting. But if he doesn't, you got fourth, fifth, and sixth all within like a minute of each other. And Primoz is the guy in sixth. So that's a group right there that could really change their position tomorrow.
Yeah. So what's going on with the green jersey? It's so interesting because there are some years where it's predominantly sprinters that are able to compete for that jersey, but even this year's tour, there's a handful of stages for them to win it. So now we've got of the top three riders competing for that jersey, you have two basically non-sprinters. I mean, I know Poggi and Matthew Van Der Poel can sprint with some of the best of them on classic stages, but it's kind of the way I know some people complain about the polka dot jersey. It seems like the green jersey is turning into that just this year.
Yeah, I think it's also sprinters have been put in a really tough spot this year. Is the way they designed a lot of the sprint stages or closer to those kind of stages in the first week is on paper they don't look like the hard mountain stages that we saw in like stage 1 or 2 in the Basque country like a few years ago when it was like really hard mountain stages. But with how aggressive they're racing these Cat 4 like kickers late in the stage, sprinters just haven't had a chance and there's still green jersey points at the line. So yeah, I think Milan is I'm looking here like 30 points ahead of Poggi right now in the green jersey with Matthew Van Der Poel 50 points behind Milan. So yeah, I think it's really up in the air and it'll be really tough for him to defend that. He's got to go for every intermediate sprint.
Yeah. Vanderpool, I don't think Vanderpool's unlike what some other green jersey winners have been. That type of riders has won a green jersey. I think seeing Tade up there with the potential to win it is the thing that's kind of making it really interesting, right? Here's a guy that normally wouldn't even care about the green jersey, and yet there he is. And because of the way they've designed these stages, he's got opportunities to take more green points. And you know the way Tade is, he just when he sees an opportunity, he's like, why not?
Yeah. Well, I do have a question on Tade's dominance in a moment, but do either of you have any questions that you want to just kind of kick around here, or talk about different tactics some of the teams have shown?
I mean, like, I'm happy to see Oscar Onley doing good. I think is it his first tour, perhaps?
I think
But
so.
he's looking really strong, and I'm happy to see him really performing well and at a level where he could be looking at third place in his first tour. And honestly, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a shame to not mention Ben Healy after Bear was just in Ireland racing, as he wore the yellow jersey and won a stage. I think in the time that Bear was over in Ireland still, so we're
Yeah,
very very close there too. So I mean, that was a really incredible performance, and that's why it's been fun watching the first half of the tour before the last 2 or 3 days, just because the jersey got handed around a little bit more.
Yeah, and the white jersey, I don't know what the number is, but I mean, so many of the entire tour actually qualifies for the white jersey, right? There's so many young riders now. So Only and Lipowitz and Vokalin and Rodriguez and Healy. I mean, those guys are all they're all up there in the GC, and that's I just went through the top five guys in the white jersey. So a lot of young, strong riders who are really excelling.
Yeah, so with Poggi's absolute dominance, I mean, he basically accounted for three of the jerseys for the majority of the race. Is the Tour de France less fun to watch because he's just been so dominant?
no, I think still been really fun to watch. I think, I mean, obviously it's hard to beat those epic stages where it's a Jonas and Poggi back and forth. And I really hope that we'll see some more of those to come. But there's still been some really incredible both breakaway racing and uh, even racing when Poggi's there. It's really impressive just to watch. Still, if you realize that you're watching arguably the greatest of all time at this point in his career. Um, yeah, I don't think it's fair to call it boring.
Yeah, I agree. I think There's moments when the idea of the same person winning again isn't the most tense moment, right? Because there's not this tension about who will win, but seeing greatness is still just seeing greatness, and the fact that the tour gives you so many other things to focus on, all I think is one of the things that makes it such a great event.
And I do think that that is a really good point because anything can still happen. I mean, we were just talking about Bear's tour experience over in Ireland. How there's a couple days where he didn't feel good, but then he just happened to have his best day, second to last day of the race. And it's not like he had a rest day. It's not like you were trying to peak at a certain time, but just how riders can bounce back or pop is just fascinating. That's why endurance sports like the tour is so incredible to watch, and that's why it is still unpredictable because Poggi could have a bad day, and Vingegaard could just take off, and he can put in time. Like the Poggi's been putting in time to him on some of these kilometers, like the last 10 kilometers, he'll just add 6, 10, 15 seconds to his lead.
Yep.
And we're seeing that with like Mullins with his big win that he just had, and Quinn Simmons, who's been so aggressive up there that you're hoping he can hold one out to the end. So I mean, yeah, there's still a lot of really interesting things happening each stage.
Yeah. I mean, you have Johannesson, who I watched and was really impressed with at the start of last tour. I was hoping he'd get his stage win this tour, and he did. And I think he won a stage 29 days after breaking his collarbone. And that's just really, really impressive and just one of the really cool stories you see in each tour.
Yeah, that's really cool. And speaking of, I think we mentioned the American riders earlier. We've seen a lot. Oh, we mentioned Quinn Simmons just now. They're at the front of almost every race, it seems like, just given their role on their teams. But Sepp Kuss, Matteo Jorgensen, and then you have Quinn Simmons, and I mean even Will Barta has been out in several of these breakaways, at least 2. I feel like that I've seen him, and they're just I'm really hopeful that stage either this year or next year because it seems like we've got legitimate contenders for stage winners. But I did want to give them a shout out because it's been really impressive watching them race. They've just been in the mix, and it's been exciting to have American riders again that are up and coming.
Yeah, and Mateo's, you're hoping he can he looks like he got burned out a little bit. Who knows if what contributed to that? Was it just the hard riding? You never know if there's a little bit of sickness going through, but I'm hoping he can recover and have some big performances here in this last week. And tomorrow could be a big day for a guy like Sepp to stay with the big dogs right to the end. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm really really excited about the upcoming final week of the tour. Who do you give the edge to for that third spot on the podium? Do you have a favorite?
I think Lipovitz is definitely looking strong. I think he's the most controlled and consistent. I think Only is definitely poised. I just don't know if in a straight up battle if he's going to be able to put in a minute 30 into Lipovitz. If Lipovitz stays consistent, I don't think Only's going to rise above. But if Lipovitz cracks, then obviously the door is open for Oscar.
Yeah, and Vokalin and Roglic both are really appealing to me. I'd love to see either of them get up on that podium, but neither of them has a shot unless both of those other 2 crack. And so I think both of the top 2, Lipovitz and Only, have put themselves in really good positions. But there's some crazy stages coming, so anything can happen still.
Yep, I think that's the takeaway for this year's tour is that anything can happen at any point. So I mean, I'm still really fired up to watch it. But before we close out this episode, Bear, you're over in Belgium now. You had a race, but there's still been a lot of training. You got over there pretty early. So yeah, just kind of give us a rundown of what it's like in Belgium. Is there any significant difference riding in Belgium versus Ireland?
I mean, you're riding on the right side of the road this time, so it helps a little bit more there. We've been riding on a bike path next to the canal for a lot of what we've been doing for training. I didn't really get to race that much just due to unfortunate circumstances and crashes in the first last lap of the race. But yeah, it's an interesting place. It's a different environment from Belgium, just from the fact that we're in the town in the city here, and we're more into the country in Ireland. I got to go on a group ride just this last weekend with a group from a local bike shop, and we got out into the country. I think actually crossed into France briefly, and that was pretty cool to get out into some of those country
That is
roads.
really cool.
Almost hit a tractor going around a corner, and so all that fun stuff. But yeah, I mean it's been pretty chill though on the terms of just living here in Belgium. But we'll see how much that changes too as we get into the real racing block here, racing Wednesday, and as everyone else from the squad arrives tomorrow.
That's really cool. How long are you in Belgium?
Just under a month from now, so a little over a month total.
Yeah. So, Bear, I remember you telling us about when you were doing your training rides in Ireland. You were told wave at the farmers, right? The guys in the tractors. You're supposed to wave at them because you're out in the country and respecting them. Is that the same in Belgium, or is it different because you're in a less rural area?
Yeah, I mean, like since we're riding on the bike paths, it's not like we don't usually on the group ride. I think that might. I mean, like I didn't notice any other riders doing that. The tractor that I saw was around a blind corner, so I never saw it until it was in my face.
No time to wait.
Yeah, so I don't think we have anything really like that here.
All right. Have you hit any historic roads or climbs over there? Any of the big race routes?
No, no, we haven't hit anything. There's some roads that I swear I go down that I'm like, this looks like the like the in between roads between sectors from like uh early spring classics, but I think it's just a common look.
Because you're in West Flanders, right? So you're very near
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
many of the big time races are.
Yeah. Yeah, when I arrived here, the 15-16s were just getting back from a train ride where they went and did a lot of the Flanders climbs.
Nice.
That's really cool. Bear, you posted, we uploaded a video of you to your YouTube channel eating all the pizza. Can you name three other foods that you had outside of pizza in your entire trip?
Yes. I had no. So I think we had
I had pineapple on pizza. No, go ahead. Bear, I think you muted yourself.
It looks like the Bear's been having an occasional earthquake over there in Belgium throughout the episode. So he's remained remarkably calm throughout all that. So
I had shrimp at one point for a team dinner. We had salmon as well. I was trying out some seafoods. Along with that, we had a lot of pasta and a lot of rice.
Okay.
A horrendous amount of pasta and rice. I had some Oreos from the Daybreak across the street, which is essentially a gas station. Which
that doesn't
sometimes
count.
you just
that does not count.
great. I did have a couple burgers from either Dirty Nelly's or what was the other place? The Lock Burger like truck. And then I think I tried some like this breakfast plate when I first flew in that had beans on toast and uh Irish like bacon and sausage, which none of it looks like what it's supposed to be. The amount of different meats that they've made where they're like, there's 3 different types of meat on this plate, and you're like, it all looks the same. I don't know how you've done it, but you've prepared them all in exactly the same way, and they look the same. And yeah, that wasn't the best breakfast, but oh well.
What food were you missing the most?
Like from back home,
Yeah.
I have had the weirdest craving for a packet of saltine crackers. I don't know why, but
You're
I've
a
like
freak.
there. I haven't had a bagel. Like
Ah.
I guess no, I had some bagels in Ireland. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a couple different things from back home that's like that'd be good. I mean, like the burgers aren't as good in Ireland as they are back home. I'll just say that.
Anything in
Um,
Belgium? Have you had something new since you've gotten to Belgium that you didn't get in Ireland?
um, I've I've randomly bought like baguettes from different stores and just kind of munch them as we like walking along or going out on a ride. We had a what was it? We stopped by at this like cafe spot where it was like a New York theme thing. But they sold this like what was it called? Like a double cheese is what they called it. And it's got this like 2 like burger patty like meat things on it. And it's on a hoagie bun with a ton of our sandwich like lettuce, tomato, sauce, all of it on it. It was just piled. It's this huge sandwich for like €10. And I think I ate half of that on the ride and then half of it when we got back, and that was pretty good. So I've had a decent amount of those kinds of like cafe sandwiches from different places as we've been going along.
So
Yeah,
no
that's
meat,
good.
What do you mean?
no meat on that sandwich you just described. It was lots of stuff, but no meat.
I did say there's 2 like hamburger patty
Oh,
things of
okay.
meat on there.
I
It's
missed
not
that.
exactly a hamburger patty, but it was like that
Okay.
kind of thing.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
They got really defensive.
Yeah.
There's a
um,
there's a lot of meat on that.
I will applaud the shrimp and the salmon. That is outside of, well, Lopez comfort zone, just the way that we normally roll. So, way to grow up. You're coming into your own. Well, let you have the final word. But we're coming up against time, and we've covered a lot. So we'll definitely be back to recap the tour when it closes and when it wraps up, and then also talk more about your Belgium adventures. Anyway, anything you want to go say before we go?
No, I think we got everything.
All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to the AeroBear podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Bear's channel, engage with the content, and let us know if you have any questions for him by dropping a comment on this video, and we'll be sure to ask him in the next episode. All right, Bear, sign us off.
This has been the AeroBear podcast. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Bear, and I like to ride bikes. When I was a kid, I stood in the shadows of giants, the Tour de France, the legends, the climbs. I was hooked. Now, I race in the Pacific Northwest. Rain, heat, snow, I'm still riding. It's about the pursuit of improvement, the grind, the grade, the summit. My goals? Nationals, Europe. How high can I go? I'm Bear Lopez, riding, climbing.